Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Daily Debate. My name is Ahmed Nader and tonight we're going to focus on the Decent Life Initiative and of course on the directives of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi for the upcoming presidential term, and we will be seeing the achievements and the successes that we have had through this initiative to be transforming the face of the countryside of Egypt and transforming the lives of millions of citizens living in thousands of villages throughout the country. And we will be starting straight away with the main presidential activities of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi over the past week, all in the upcoming report. Stay tuned.
President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi met with the Prime Minister and Minister of Finance to review the financial performance indicators of the state budgets. The President directs prioritizing continued and intensified efforts to reduce inflation and ensure the availability of goods and services in the markets for citizens. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi received President Hassan Sheikh Mohammed of the Federal Republic of Somalia at the Ittihadiyya Palace to discuss strengthening bilateral cooperation frameworks and the latest developments in regional affairs. President al-Sisi and the Somali President witnessed the signing ceremony of a military cooperation protocol between the two countries. President al-Sisi reaffirmed Egypt's supportive stance on the unity and sovereignty of Somalia over its territory and its rejection of any interference in Somalia's internal affairs. A joint statement between the Arab Republic of Egypt, the State of Qatar and the United States of America regarding the situation in Gaza. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi received a phone call from U.S. President Joe Biden, during which they discussed the situation in the region and efforts to restore regional stability. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi received Mr. Stéphane Séjourné, the French Minister of Foreign Affairs, and his accompanying delegation.
Welcome back. You're still watching the Daily Debate, and I'm honored to be having with me over the program for tonight is Dr. Nevine Nakhla, the Professor of Strategic Management. Thank you very much for being with us tonight.
Thank you. I'm honored.
The honor is all mine. We will be starting straight away with the first report regarding the Decent Life Initiative, how it transformed the lives of millions of Egyptians living in thousands of villages across the country. All this and more in the upcoming reports, so stay tuned.
In 2019, with the hope of improving the lives of underprivileged Egyptians, the government launched its Decent Life Initiative, Haya Karima, a national project for the development of the Egyptian countryside. The initiative targets half of Egypt's 102 million population that lives in 4,658 villages across the country, most of which have suffered from neglect. It will bring about change in many aspects of lives of people in these villages, notably by investing in human capital and abilities of the village inhabitants themselves and by raising the quality of development services. The initiative also stimulates economic development and builds basic but fundamental infrastructure, provide decent housing, including access to clean water, sewage, sanitation, electricity, gas, communication, and back the most in need families with small and micro projects. It funds and set up medical, educational and community services by building 13,000 classrooms and expanding health facilities and hospitals through the new universal health insurance system. The initiative is focusing on Egypt's poorest villages, where almost half the population was living below the poverty line. In December 2020, it expanded to include over 4,500 villages within the framework of Egypt's Sustainable Development Strategy, Vision 2030. It will run through 2023. The budget of the Decent Life Initiative is estimated at £700 billion, while the stakeholders include all ministries and state agencies, NGOs, private sector and donors from abroad and within Egypt. It goes without saying that the initiative is taxing financially, since nothing of this magnitude has ever been pursued before Egypt's modern history. The project is inspirational, as it is the biggest development project in Egypt in terms of funding and number of beneficiaries. Due to the enormous volume of work exerted, the initiative focused first on villages having 70% poverty rate, then on villages with poverty rates between 50 and 70%, and finally in the third phase on villages with a 50% poverty rate. The 4,658 villages were divided into 3 phases of nearly 1,500 each. The Decent Life Initiative is a project like no other. It aims to replace the current state of the Egyptian countryside, making it more modern and including all dimensions of sustainable development and dignity.
Welcome back. You're still watching the Daily Debate, and I'm honored, as I said in the beginning, to be having with me over the program for tonight Dr. Nevine Nakhla. Dr. Nevine, of course, we did see the past report speaking about the achievements of the first phase of the Decent Life Initiative. How do you see the importance of the initiative in general, according to the directives of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi?
Thank you very much. The report was very good and very well said. Decent Life Initiative is one in the world, it is one of the best and the best ever initiative in the world, not only in Africa or in the Middle East.
Yes.
Because it is giving decent life to almost 60% of the population of Egypt. A lot of millions of people were living underserved in needy areas, not privileged enough to have all what we have in the cities. So this initiative was a dream of His Excellency, our beloved President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in 2019, and it was launched in 2020, and we saw the first phase on the ground and how it changed the lives of millions of people, of lovely Egyptians in our villages and in our countryside. The importance of this initiative is not only for building the infrastructure of these areas and these villages, but also the human capacity building and the training and the amount of work that is done. We saw the vision of this initiative that will reach 4,658 villages in 175 centers in the 27 governorates of Egypt. And we saw how the needy assessment was done and how the prioritization and making the criteria of which villages to start. And of course, we all visited the villages before and after.
Yes.
And we saw the great amount of work done in these villages and done to these people, bridging the gap between the services in the cities and the services in the villages. Bridging the gap of immigration from these villages because there was no work and not enough job creation and not enough education and classes for education, not enough sewage and clean water and energy and fiber optics to have the internet. So we saw this great initiative, how it bridged the gap and how it reduced the immigration of villagers, especially in Upper Egypt, to Cairo, to the city,
yes,
searching for jobs and searching for a decent life. So we, as Egyptians, we are very proud of this great initiative and of this dream come true on the ground.
You've mentioned, Doctor, that this initiative was targeting thousands of villages throughout the first phase and, of course, the upcoming phases as well of the Decent Life Initiative. But we have seen throughout the first tenure of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, or the first term, that he is focusing on raising the standards of living for the Egyptians in general, to be having better infrastructure for the Egyptians in general. How do you see those targets, and how would you assess the achievements and the successes that we have had, not just for the Decent Life Initiative, but for the Egyptian citizens in general?
Yes, the idea behind His Excellency making this initiative, this great initiative,
yes,
was seeing that there were a lot of villages in Egypt underserved. A lot of villages, they didn't have proper sewage, no water, no sanitation, no electricity, and this was unfair. So we saw on the ground the first phase with a lot of change, big change. We saw the green villages, we saw the fiber optics in these villages, we saw the housings, we saw the schools that are built with extra classes to fit everyone. Like the new government slogan, the new government of Egypt slogan, no one is left behind. So no underserved people anymore. Everyone is getting a decent life. We saw in the villages, in the first phase, we saw the hospitals and polyclinics. We saw the great other initiatives, hundreds of initiatives inside the Decent Life Initiative to support. We saw the unity of all the civil society and all the NGOs and all the ministries and all the state of Egypt. It is a unity, and we saw the great digitalization of these underserved and these villages and the people served inside it. This digitalization did a tremendous change, because we used to have different NGOs serving different areas, like, you know, like you're dropping water,
yes,
and not consolidated work.
Not consistently.
Not consistently, and not on the strategic vision of sustainable development goals. Yes. So it was not strategically planned, it was like haphazard, like you know, not strategically put into
in a chaotic way.
Exactly.
Yes.
This was very important. The unity of everyone made specialization and made digitalization of the people served. We used to have in old age, we used to have some families are getting all the benefits because they know how to reach, they know where to go. Maybe they know someone, or they know their way, and other many thousands of families were not served, and they don't know what to do and where to go.
Yes.
But now it is equality, I mean, in the service. Equality to everyone, and the digitalization and the unity made a hub of different NGOs and civil society, I mean,
yes,
known who is serving this area, and each NGO is serving in what. One NGO is serving, for example, for food, another one for clothes, another one for health, helping in the 100 million initiative, or the breast the women initiative,
yes,
health initiative, or so you know who's who and who's targeting where and who is strong in which village, because in these villages there are local NGOs, small NGOs locally, and other bigger NGOs with a lot of branches all over the country, and they know the people by name and they know the houses by name. So to get use of all this data and information and put it together to serve honestly and to serve strategically and with a plan to every house, and making the assessment of each village, and not only the needy assessment, also
yes,
the assessment of what this village is known for, to enlarge and work on this with a lot of other initiatives to make this village more productive.
Like skills, for example.
Exactly, building skills and making small, medium enterprises, making projects and a lot of work. So this is organization and unity of the whole political will of Egypt to serve everyone. No one is left behind.
Yes, Doctor, one of the main targets and one of the main goals that we have seen of the political leadership under President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi for the past decade and for the upcoming presidential term as well is to be the human development, to be having better human cadres for the future of Egypt. And of course, this will be reflected through the Decent Life Initiative, to be having better infrastructure, better provided services for them. Of course, the standards of living itself, they are being raised for the human development. How do you think, because you mentioned that you have visited the villages before and after renovation, how do you think this will be reflected on the human development of the people themselves living there?
Okay, the human development of people saw a lot of care and a lot of work from different ministries,
yes,
and different NGOs, and from the civil society as well, and even from the private companies, CSR,
yes,
to serve. So we saw, for example, let's give examples so we're not just saying theoretical words. To give an example, we saw the Ministry of Communication and Information and Technology.
Yes.
They made a lot of initiatives for the people living in the first phase of Decent Life Initiative, and gave them a lot of fiber optics, vocational training, how to do your business, how to market for your business, how to digital marketing and digital literacy to these humans living in the villages.
Yes.
And we saw that around 27,000 jobs were created in these villages. For example, now the fiber optics companies, international companies and Egyptian companies that are recruiting people to do the fiber optics, they are getting people from each village. So the capacity building and the training and the knowledge and the education of the people living in the village, the youth living in the village, they are the ones who are doing in their village. And this does something else which is very more important than just education or training. It does something called integration and participation. Youth in the village now will not say this is for what. They will appreciate what they have. They will keep it, take care of it, because it is done by their own hands, but with their own knowledge, with their own education and uplifting. We saw another initiative by the Minister of Social Solidarity. We saw that the initiative of teaching ladies vocational training and how to do their own business. It pays off with the marketing, digital marketing of another youth, of marketing their products and going out of their villages to market their products and to sell it even in the city. We saw a lot of initiatives with the Minister of Youth and Sports, for youth as well, to teach them how to present themselves, how to do their CVs, how to present their work, and a lot of cooperation, a lot of unity, and a lot of things that is building the capabilities of the humans in the villages. We saw the Minister of Culture, for example, they made a lot of libraries, very decent and very modernized libraries in the Decent Life villages, and a lot of librarians, a lot of youth and young ladies took courses and took trainings to be librarians. This is human development and a straight, very clear vision for the Egyptians.
Yes, the first phase had an expenditure of 350 billion Egyptian pounds. How do you see the importance of investing this big, enormous amount of money in the Egyptian villages for the Egyptian citizens right now for the future of the country?
Of course, you cannot have a decent life. You cannot have 120 million Egyptians that are poor and suffering. If we look on the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, you cannot achieve them. You cannot reach there when people are hungry. You cannot reach there when people having a problem in their kidneys because they're drinking yellow water. I used to go to these villages before Decent Life Initiative, and believe me, the water they are drinking was yellow. And they suffered a lot of health issues. If you have a nation suffering of health issues, how can they be productive? How can this nation be a productive nation and work and produce? They can't. They are taking medicine, they are tired, they are ill, they are getting children, ill children. When you have ill children, we saw the number of shortened children in Upper Egypt, especially
suffering from dwarfism.
Exactly.
Yes.
And we saw the problems of the kidney problems and virus C. We saw a lot of problems, and the 350 billion spent. This is, I mean, good number for all what happened, because it's a 360 degrees. It's a butterfly service to these people to make them productive. First of all, virus C was eradicated, literacy was eradicated, a lot of illiterate courses and literacy courses, and thousands and thousands and millions of people educated. The schools are decent schools. We used to see 100 kids sitting in a class with no air.
Yes.
Of course, how can you imagine that they will receive any education under these circumstances? But with the Decent Life Initiative now, we have enough classes in the villages. We have enough teachers, a lot of cadre, a lot of training, a lot of certified. We saw even universities. We saw a lot of hospitals. Before the Decent Life Initiative, I saw in villages in Upper Egypt, for example, Minya and Asyut villages in Upper Egypt, the nearest hospital and the nearest emergency room was 4 hours drive. Who will survive that? And of course, the people, the family of someone who couldn't find health support and emergency will want to leave the country, will not be keen about their country. But now when they see the service, they see the sewage, we had problems of, a lot of problems for the young girls to go to the toilet in the middle of the night and not come back to their homes because they're kidnapped or something. So His Excellency, our beloved President, knew all these problems, and the root cause analysis was very well stated on the table, and taken decision to tackle bravely all these problems and to reach out for these people and serve them.
One of the main problems that we have heard of over the past 30 years before, of course, the arrival of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in office in 2014, was that the upper Egyptian governorates were neglected, usually. And we have seen through the Decent Life Initiative a certain focus by the Decent Life Initiative on Upper Egypt, serving about 11 million citizens. That's about 10% of the Egyptian population. How do you see the importance of giving services, needed services, for the upper Egyptian governorates?
It's very important. It creates loving the country. It creates jobs. It creates, as we said, reduce the immigration outside Egypt and inside Egypt to the cities, to create jobs, to give healthy life, to give education, to give internet, to know the world, and to go out of there, to even the irrigation systems, the plantations. A lot of SMEs made a lot of projects. Around 27,000 projects were done in the first phase, serving 70% in the first phase. Around 70% of the people served were in Upper Egypt.
Yes.
Because it was a need assessment, a very well made need assessment to the 70% under poverty villages. And of course, it was mainly in Upper Egypt. Also, we saw a lot of, as we said, a lot of projects done. For example, we had a problem in the loss of some of the plantations, like the tomatoes. We were losing 35% of the tomatoes plantation on the value chain and on transportation to the factories and to the places of selling. We saw a lot of initiatives for women especially and youth in these villages, for example, sun-dried tomatoes or pomegranate added value, or even we saw the initiative of the silk, the initiative of the Suhag Tali heritage handicrafts. So it served tremendously on all aspects and on all everyone. No one is left behind. No one is underserved anymore.
Yes, what is the importance, as you mentioned, Doctor, we have had a lot of focus on the creation of village-based jobs.
Yes.
They don't have to be illegally migrating to other countries, neighboring countries, and they don't have to be leaving their villages to bigger villages or bigger cities like Cairo or Alexandria, for example. What is the importance of having jobs at the villages that you were born in, that you have your total life around you?
Egyptians are very much attached to their families.
Yes.
We are not like Western that at the age of 14 or even 15 we leave our houses and we have our own house. So having jobs inside the villages, it is part of our culture to keep people in Egypt, the culture in Egypt. People like to be together, and families like to grow together and see their grandchildren growing in front of their eyes. So having jobs in the villages, it is part of it, helping the infrastructure of the villages and helping the villages to grow and to be productive. Because these villages are the food basket of Egypt. They are the strength of Egypt.
Yes.
And the know-how of heritage handicrafts, the know-how of plantation, the know-how of all our culture. So leaving, the youth leaving their villages, searching for bread and searching for jobs outside of the villages, on the long run was going to hurt our country a lot.
Yes.
So keeping them back in their culture, keeping them back with their heritage. We see also in Egypt that each village has its own stories, has its own taste and culture.
Yes.
And you see the rababa and the way people are saying their old stories,
Yes.
and they are proud of it. Keeping them in their villages and having jobs in their villages and having income and economic empowerment to youth and women and men in their villages is a strength of Egypt, and it's strength of our culture. We saw the beauty of lining of the lakes in these villages.
Yes.
These villages, we used to have the lakes that is transforming the water from plantation to another and from family to another. This was a main thing in fights and making families fight for the water. But with the Decent Life Initiative, the simple lining of these rivers, the simple lining of these lakes, made the water flow clean, clear water, with no throwing garbage or throwing dead animals in it like the past, and clear to go to all the families, all the plantations, no fights. And it gave back to our villages the greenery, it gave back to our villages the clean look, the beautiful look. We used to see in our black and white movies how the villages used to look beautiful. We are back to that. You go to the villages of Decent Life Initiative and you enjoy the greenery, you enjoy the good smell, you enjoy the good look of the place itself. Also, as we said, all the ministries are helping these youth and women and supporting the job creation inside the villages.
Yes. Yes, Doctor, allow me to be going to the other report of the daily debate for tonight, focusing on the statements made by Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, speaking about the significance of the Decent Life Initiative in reshaping the countryside of Egypt. We'll be having more details in the upcoming report. Stay tuned.
Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli has reiterated the significant role played by Decent Life presidential initiative in bringing about a quantum leap in the level of various services provided to citizens in targeted villages. Madbouli highlighted the initiative's role in generating more job opportunities for village inhabitants via their contribution to implementing various development and service projects carried out under the initiative. The Prime Minister underlined the importance of continued follow-up of the status of projects carried out as part of the initiative and dealing immediately with any challenges that may face the implementation process via coordination and cooperation among state bodies concerned. The Prime Minister highlighted the work progress in projects of the first phase of the initiative that targets 1,477 villages in which approximately 18 million citizens are living. The projects include sectors of roads and transport, drinking water and sanitation, electricity, communications and information technology, natural gas, irrigation, health and education.
Welcome back. You're still watching the Daily Debate, and I'm honored to be having with me over the program for tonight Dr. Nevine Nakhla, the Professor of Strategic Management. Thank you very much once again for being with us tonight.
Honored.
Doctor, of course, we were speaking about the initiative of the Decent Life, and there are global environmental standards that are being taken into consideration when implementing the Decent Life Initiative within another initiative called the Green Life or the Green Village of Egypt. How do you see the importance of putting into consideration the environmental standards as well when we are having better infrastructure, higher standards of living, which of course will be reflected on the human cadres?
Of course. We are very proud that there are 20 villages in the strategic plan of the green villages.
Yes.
And we have one village which is Komombo in Aswan. It is already certified as the green village. Yes. From the international certification. This is very important because our villages used to be green and continue to be green. With all the work done and with all the infrastructure, with all the roads, with all the services entered, yes. And all even the health and the awareness, a lot of awareness done to the people living in these villages, and integrating them in this and making them part of the initiative and making them part of having their village green was the key success factor, because when they are integrated in these villages, a lot of awareness happened to them, and a lot of education to the kids and to the people living in these villages to keep it green under the sustainable development goals and under the certification, the international certification, made them really keen to keep their villages at this level.
Yes.
Because it looks nice, it is very serving their needs, and as we said, job creating and a lot of good things. So we're looking forward to see the establishment, the finalization of the 19 other villages under the program.
Yes, on the other hand, there are other initiatives and other services that are being provided for the citizens in the Decent Life Initiative, which are the psychological services, for example, the importance of the mental health awareness for the Decent Life Initiative for the citizens that are being treated throughout the initiative of the Decent Life. How do you see the importance of just not focusing on the economic side, on the environmental side of the Decent Life Initiative, but the psychological side and the services that are being provided for them, for the citizens there?
Perfect. We said that it's a 360 degrees initiative.
Yes.
It's leaving nothing unplanned. Before the Decent Life Initiative, when we used to go to these villages, we used to see that people are winning their bread daily.
Yes.
It's not a monthly salary. One day the man is working, the other day the man is not working. One day he's taking 10 pounds, the other day he's taking 50 or 100 pounds per day. So they used to spend a lot of money on cigarettes, tobacco, shisha, whatever it is, and some drugs. And this was a job for a lot of youth. Yes. Selling, buying. So with the Decent Life Initiative, it was no place for this. No place for a man to come back from work and hit his wife. No place for a lot of children from many marriages, and a lot of initiatives, a lot of work and awareness done by the health sector and the Minister of Health. Not only as physical, but psychologically as well. We saw a lovely initiative that I respect very much, which is the National Egyptian Development Initiative.
Yes.
And this one was focusing on girls before marriage and women, new mothers.
Yes.
And a lot of psychological support. Also, under this initiative, we saw the Minister of Social Solidarity, the Ministry of Social Solidarity, having women in each village very well trained. These women are like leaders, or they call them like the mother of the village. And yes. These women, very well educated, very well trained, like TOT, train the trainer, and they are taking care of different smaller sizes of groups in areas. So they are distributed on areas for other women to support. A lot of training also for religious leaders in the villages, how to support psychologically and support the men and tell them what's right and what's wrong and control a lot of issues inside the family. So family planning and the initiative of National Family Development Initiative, it supported a lot and paid a lot. A lot of costs were put into this.
Yes.
And we saw also a lot of other initiatives from the civil society and NGOs, plus the ministries.
Yes, and for the final 2 minutes, Doctor, we have seen what happened over the first phase of the Decent Life Initiative. What do you think we should be expecting and anticipating for the second and the third phases of the Decent Life Initiative? Do you think that there will be development of services provided, more expenditures? What will happen?
I know that the vision now is from support to economic development. We will see in the second phase and the third phase more projects, more SMEs, MSMEs, micro, small enterprises. We will see a lot of more industries in the villages, more job creation in the villages, more human capacity building will be done in these villages. And we're looking forward for phase 2 and phase 3. Also, we saw that in the dignity and solidarity, we reached, after adding 450,000 more families, which reached around 5 million families, 5 million families. Imagine how many people inside it. We saw the 9.1 million support for the initiative of 6 months of MISA card money for underserved people. We saw the subsidization card for food for thousands and millions of other families. A lot is being taken care of, but at the same time, it is not only money and support we will change from the support to the economic development. They will have their own jobs, they will have their own income by teaching them how to do their businesses and how to create their own entrepreneurship. A lot of youth entrepreneurship programs in these villages. How to waste management, how to do projects from waste and from sustainability. So we're going to see in the coming few years, we're going to see a lot of economic development and a lot of great things.
It's not just about money, it's about the change of culture and the mindset, especially for the countryside. Dr. Nevine Nakhla, the Professor of Strategic Management, thank you very much for being with us tonight on the Daily Debate.
Thank you so much.
Anytime. And this brings us to the end of the Daily Debate for tonight. Thank you for watching and goodbye.
دورت لاقي عنها مكتوبة حكايات